Okay, so I'm going to hand pick a couple of questions here from some of the topics that we reviewed that I want us to go through and make sure that we kind of feel comfortable. So I'm going to hand pick a few of them. So for those of you, here, let me just present. If I present this to make this full screen, everybody can still see that, correct? Yes, perfect, awesome. Okay, so in the meantime, for those of you joining, I want you to solve this problem. For those of you in the chat already, I want you to solve this problem and message me privately the right answer. So take a look at this question, solve this problem, see what you get, work through it, message me the right answer. Make sure, once again, you guys have paper, pencil, and calculator for today's class. And as we do this one, we'll give another 2-3 minutes for everybody else to join, and then we'll begin with the class, but solve this one in the meantime. Very good. Yeah, for those of you joining, just take a look and start with this question. We're going to wait another 2 minutes for everybody else to come in. Message me the answer. All right, so I got a couple answers here. All right, so it looks like most of you actually got this one. A couple of little errors here, but for the most part, everyone's comfortable here. Okay, good. All right, so let's take a look and see. So let me just go through. It looks like we've got everybody, most students in. Well, we've got a couple more that will probably come in. But let's review this question while we're at it now. So here we have x equals 10 root 2. And then they're saying 2 times x is equal to root 2y. So we're going to do 2 times x. Of course, the x here is a 10 root 2, so we're going to plug that in. So we're going to do 2 times 10 root 2 is equal to root 2y, like that. Okay. And then we do 2 times 10 root 2, so it's going to be 20 root 2 equals root 2y. And at this point, we have 20 root 2 is equal to root 2y. I need to get the y by itself. So how do I solve for this y by itself? Well, I need to get rid of the square root. And the way I can do that is by squaring both sides. I'm then going to square both sides like that. So the square root and the square cancel, so I'm going to get 2y. And then lastly, we get 20 root 2 squared, which is going to give me 400 times. So 20 squared is 400. And then root 2 squared is going to cancel. It's going to give me 2. Then I get 800 equals 2y. And I divide both sides by 2. And my final answer is y equals 400. So some of you said 20, 40. Some of you said 800. So see where your mistake was. Does anyone have any question? Anyone have any questions on this one? All right, so this one was 400. Everybody comfortable with that? Okay. All right, so I'm going to put up another question we're going to review the homework as well from last week and go through some of that as well, but I want to continue to pick a couple problems and see if you guys can solve them. So here for system of equations, we're going to take a look at this next problem right here. So system of equations are all about creating two equations. So I want everybody here, I'm going to give you guys about 2 minutes or so. I'm going to post a poll, and let's see. I'm going to post a poll, and I want you guys to put in your answer. Take a second, read this question, see what's going on, understand it. Then once you've got it, put your answer into the poll, and let's see if you get it. If it doesn't say no calculator, then you can use the calculator for this one. So this one, you can use the calculator. For those of you who didn't see the poll, let me relaunch it and double check. Maybe it's behind. Move your screen around. It could be behind the screen. It could be in front. Minimize your tabs or reopen. I just relaunched the poll for those of you to see. All right, once you have your answer, put it in. Let's see what you guys got. I'm going to work through this question as well. This is a system of equations, kind of like a word problem here. I'm going to work you guys through this equation, but for the meantime, put your answers in and see what you got. All right, let me make sure as you guys have the poll still up before I know we got a couple answers. But in the meantime, make sure you have two equations for this one. It's dimes and quarters. So your first equation is going to be D plus Q equals 17, right? Dimes plus quarters is 17 coins. So that's your first equation. Your second equation is a value. So a dime is 10 cents, so 0.10D plus a quarter, which is 25 cents, plus 2.5Q equals $2.45. These are your two equations. So take another minute, finish solving this one, put your answer in, and then I'm going to walk you through it. All right, and so here's the next step. Let me close the poll. So put your answer in the last 10 seconds. I'm going to close the poll. I'm going to review and take you guys from here. All right, so most of you guys put the right answer here, which in this case is D. Very good. Yes, we will. Okay, so this problem here is D. Okay, so answer here is D, which most of you guys got. So what we need to do in this case is we need to use elimination. They want to know how many dimes do we have? Well, we have to get rid of our quarters then. Well, first thing first, if we have decimals like 0.10D, 0.25Q, 2.45, I can multiply everything by 100 and get rid of the decimals. So that leaves me with 10D plus 25Q equals 245. And then we have D plus Q equals 17. So in that case, now all I need to do here is get rid of the Q. So I'm going to multiply everything by negative 25. So going to be minus 25Q. And then 17 times negative 25 should give me negative 425. Now that I've multiplied everything by negative 25, and the reason why I've done that is to get rid of my Q's. So what I do from here is I'm going to then combine everything. So I've got negative 25D plus 10D, which is negative 15D. And I've got negative 25Q plus 25Q, so that's going to cancel. And then I've got negative 425 and 245, which is negative 180. So I've got negative 15D equals negative 180. Divide both sides by negative 15, so you have negative 180 over negative 15. The negatives cancel, I just have 180 over 15, which is 12. So that's why my answer is D, 12. All right, if you have any questions, message me on that one. That's system of equations. What you need to do here is read the problem, create the actual equations using the information they gave us. And then once you have those equations, you can then use information to then solve for the answer. Okay, so that one's going to be 12. All right, so let's move on to the next one. So let's solve. I'm going to do this one. I want to do these next two questions. You guys should be familiar with this. Let me see if you guys can get the right answers and solve these next two questions. I'm going to relaunch the poll, and we're going to review these as well. All right, we've got a couple answers so far. Take another 30 seconds, solve this problem, take an educated guess, put your answer in the poll. If you don't see the poll, message me with your answer privately, but most of you should get the poll as well. All right. Looks like we got pretty much everybody's answers in. Let's share the results. Most of you guys got this correct. Very good. 30 over 17. All right, so this one's infinitely many solutions, right? Infinitely many solutions. So what's going on here? For example, all we're doing is we want these two equations to be equal to each other. Infinitely many solutions. That means they are always intersecting. So they're going to be the same exact equation. So if you have a graph, this is one equation. The other equation is going to be that exact equation because they're always intersecting. So you want to multiply the top equation by 5, the bottom equation by 17. So we get 30x plus 25y equals 85. And then 17ax plus 17by equals 85. And the reason why we did that is because we want all the numbers and everything to be the same. So here we have 85, here we have 85. The 25y and 17by are the same, so they want to know what is the value of a. So we know 30x and 17ax are going to be equal to each other. So 17ax equals 30x. We can get rid of the x and then divide by 17 on both sides. So we get a is equal to 30 over 17, which is D. Very good. All right, so it seems like you guys are comfortable with that. We're going to continue to work through some of these questions here. But any questions, issues, or concerns on that problem? All righty, let's take a look at the next one. Oh, yep, so let's take a look at this one. No solutions, very similar to what we just did, no solutions. And then we'll move on to the next question. So once again, put your answer in the poll. I'm going to launch the poll right now. And message me privately if you don't get the poll. We got a couple answers. Take another minute to solve and put your answer into the poll. All right, another 30 seconds. Put your answer in. I'm going to end the poll. We got most of our answers, and I think so far most of us are correct, but take another 30 seconds. All righty, so I'm going to end the poll, share the results. So most of us put answer choice C. So most of us put answer choice C. Very good. So let me take a look and see. Make sure you guys are comfortable with this one and understand what's going on. Really, the key thing here is they're saying no solutions. No solutions means they have to have what? The same slope. No solutions means same slope. And the reason is because they're parallel. So you have to take both of these equations and put them into y equals mx plus b form. So the first one is going to be negative 4y equals negative 10x plus 15. You divide by negative 4, you get y equals 10 over 4x minus 15 over 4. So that's the first equation. And the second equation, we're going to, same thing, move everything over. So we're going to get by equals negative 7x plus 18. Divide by b, we're going to get y equals negative 7x over b plus 18 over b. So it comes down to this. 10 over 4, negative 7 over b. Those are the two slopes of these two equations, and we just set them equal and solve for b. 10 over 4 equals negative 7 over b. Cross multiply. 10b equals negative 28. Divide by 10, we get b equals negative 28 over 10, and then we can just pull out a 2 to give me negative 14 over 5. So the correct answer is C here. Very good. So most of you guys got this correct and feel comfortable with that. Any questions, issues, or concerns on this problem? Remember, no solutions, same slope. All right, so write this down. Make sure you feel comfortable with that. And there will be a recording of this class as well. So if I'm moving too quickly or you miss anything, you'll see that in the recording. So that will be fine. Let's take a look next. I want to go through a couple other questions. Inequalities and absolute value you guys should be okay with for the most part here. So I'm not too worried about that. Okay, exponents. So I want to do a couple of exponents questions again. I know this topic was difficult for a lot of us. Let's take a look at this question right here. I'm going to post a poll. Put in your answer. Most of you should be comfortable with this. And then we're going to review it together as well. So put your answer in the poll for this problem, and then we will review. Okay, we got most of the answer. Take another 30 seconds, put your answer in, and we will review. All right. So let's take a look. Most of you guys, results, perfect. Most of you guys got this answer correct. Very good. 2 plus 3x. Awesome. So how do we do this one? Same thing here. They want to know what is 8y. So 8y. Well, we know y is 2 to the x. So we're going to replace the y with 2 to the x. That's what they said right here. Y is 2 to the x. So we're just going to replace it. Now, we can't do anything with 8. Most of us put this, right? 8 times 2, 16. You can't do that. You need to have the same base. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn the 8 into 2 cubed, and then the times 2 to the x. All right, so now you have 2 cubed, because it's just 8, 2 times 2 times 2, times 2 to the x. So now they have the same base. They're multiplying. So what was the rule? Remember how we talked about the rules? Same base, they're multiplying, add the exponents. So you add the 3 and the x, so we get 2 to the 3 plus x. All right, so that way our answer here is C. Very good. So it looks like a majority of you guys are comfortable with that. Let's move on and do this question as well, and then we'll move on from there. All right, we got a couple answers. Let's take another 30 seconds to put answers in, and we'll then review. All right, very good. So most of us here got the correct answer, which is A. All right, so correct answer here is A. Let's take a look at and see why. Why is it A? So in this case, they want to know 8 to the A over 2 to the B. Step 1 is to make the same base. Whenever we're working with exponents, you want to have the same base. So we're going to convert the 8 to 2 to the 3, and then we have 2 to the B. That's it. All I did is I turned the 8 into 2 cubed. Now that we have the same base, they're dividing. So what's the rule when they're dividing? Take your exponents and subtract them. So you're going to keep the base, which is 2. You're going to take your exponents and subtract them. So 2 to the 3a minus b. Then we're going to plug in what b is. So they said b is equal to 3a minus 5. So I'm going to replace b with 3a minus 5. So I'm going to get 2 to the 3a minus 5. Distribute the negative. So 2 to the 3a minus negative 5, which is just plus 5. So the 3a's will cancel. You'll just be left with 2 to the 5, which is why that answer is correct. All right, so our answer here is 2 to the 5. Some of you put the value cannot be determined. It can, and it's 2 to the 5. So make sure you write that down. You follow the basic exponent rules. Same base, they're multiplying, add the exponents. Same base, they're dividing, subtract the exponents, right? Remember those rules, and the key thing is always same base. When you see different numbers, you want to have the same base. All right, so that's exponents. Any questions on this problem? Alrighty. So let's take a look at functions. I want to go through a couple of example problems here for functions, most of which you'll be comfortable with. So this one really quick here, this one is function is undefined. Let me have you guys try this problem. Submit your answer into, oh, ignore the poll. You can just message me privately with your answer. This is an open-ended question, which on the test, we'll go through the strategy. There will be a couple of open-ended questions on the test as well. And it's multiple choice, but a few open-ended questions. So we'll go through the structure of that. We're going to spend probably 2 or 3, probably maybe another 2 lessons actually doing material and instructional. And after that, we'll be doing some practice testing as well. But yeah, so take a look at this question, message me privately your answer, and then we'll review it together. All right, perfect. So it looks like most of you answers, you guys knew exactly what to do here, which is great. You take your denominator, everything here on the bottom, and you set it equal to 0. And you just solve it out. So you do x minus 4 squared, that's going to give you x squared minus 8x plus 16. When you follow that out, then you distribute this 4, you get 4x minus 16 plus 4 equals 0. Plus 16 minus 16 canceled, and then negative 4x and 4x gives me negative 8x and 4x gives me negative 4x. And then we just factor everything out. So you get x minus 2 times x minus 2 equals 0. So x equals 0, equals 2. So when x is 2, and you plug it into your denominator, you're going to get 0. 0 in the denominator means a function is undefined. Very good. So that's the key thing here with functions. Most of you guys are comfortable with that. If you're struggling, message me. But it looks like I didn't get anybody who got this question wrong, which is very good. So let's take a look at the next. All right, so sequences. This topic is all about finding the pattern. Finding the pattern. This is sequences. I'm going to post a poll. Let me see if you guys can answer this question. See what you think, and then we'll work through this one together as well. And once again, if you guys can't see the poll, just message me your answer privately. All right, take another 10, 20 seconds, put your answer in, and we will review. All right. Okay, here's what we got. So most of you guys said B, which is correct. So this is a sequence question, which is all about finding the pattern. So in this case, we have 5, 16, 49, and 148. So what we want to see is we're multiplying essentially the number by some constant k, then we're adding another constant c. So you can make an equation out of this, or you can kind of look at the answer choices and plug in numbers that way too. If you made an equation, it'd be 5 times k plus c equals 16. Well, here we have one equation with two variables. We can't really do anything, so we have to create another equation. So 16 times k plus c is 49. And then you can solve it algebraically. Or you can just take a look by looking at your answer choices. If I multiply 5 by what number and add what number, can I get 16? And then try that works again. So 5 times 3 is 15. 15 plus 1 is 16. Let me try again. 16 times 3 is 48. 48 plus 1 is 49. That works. My answer is 3. Very good. So looks like you guys are comfortable with that. Let's take a look at the next question. So everyone take a look at this one. This one's a little tricky here. See if you can solve it. A lot of my students struggle with this one. So work through this one, put in your question and your answer, and then we'll review. All right, put in your answers. Let's see what you guys think. If the poll isn't shown for you, you can just message me privately. Okay. So here are the answers. Okay, looks like we're pretty split. There's no right answer. Looking at the poll, the correct answer here is A. So only a couple of you guys got this. Let me explain why the answer here is A. So let's take a look. We have this sequence. The first term is -5. Then there's a second term, third term, fourth term, and so on and on and on. You have to work through all the terms. And the question here is saying, what is the value of the 100th term? So they want to know, what is the 100th term? So in that case, essentially what you need to do to find the 100th term is just see, we're not actually going to calculate all the way to 100. That'd be asinine. What we need to do is actually figure out what is the pattern. So let me explain. What did they say? We're taking -1, and multiplying it by the previous term. So -5 times -1 is 5. And then what do we do after that? We subtract 3 from the product. So we subtract 3, and that gives me 2. Okay, so I know that my second term is 2. So I want to keep solving this and keep working through it, because as I'm working through this, eventually I'm going to find a pattern. So let's do it again. Let's take 2. Take 2, multiply it by -1, I get -2. Then I subtract 3 from that, and I get -5. So now I did it again, and I got -5. So now if I take -5 and do it again, I'm going to get 2. So you're going to keep flip-flopping between them. You're going to get -5, then 2, -5, then 2, and it's going to keep changing. So how do we know which one is the 100th term? Well, 100 is an even number. So all of the even number terms, like the second term is 2, the fourth term is 2, the sixth term is going to be 2 again, right? So all of the even number terms are 2. So because 100 is an even number, then it's also going to be 2. That's why our answer is A. All right, so sequencing is all about finding the pattern. Make sure you can work through the question and the problem and put everything in order so that you can get the right answer. Any questions, issues, or concern with this problem? This one is a little tricky, but it's all about finding the pattern. All right, so let's take a look at the next one. No questions there. Let's do some quadratics. Okay, so for quadratics here, everyone here remembers the quadratic formula, right? Or if you haven't, you have it right here on the left side, quadratic formula. On the test, you really don't want to have to use a quadratic formula. It just takes too much time. You want to know it if you need it, but you don't want to have to refer to it. The best way to solve is to do, as you guys can see on the right, is to work through it by factoring, right? So if you have x squared minus x minus 6, you just break that into x minus 3 times x plus 2, and then you solve for both, and you get answers 3 and -2. That's the easiest. To solve something like that, you want to factor. You don't want to actually have to use a quadratic formula. But that's the best way to go about that question. So let's take a look at an example. Let me have you guys just go through, let's do this problem. Let me have everybody work through this question. Put your answer in the poll, A, B, C, or D, and let's see what you guys get so I can see if you guys are comfortable with quadratics. All right, we got about half of you guys put an answer in. Everyone put your answer in once you solve this. Want to make sure everyone's comfortable. All right, let's take another 10 or so seconds, and we're going to go through. Okay, put your answer in, take an educated guess if you're not sure, so we can go through this one. All right, let's see. Okay, so for the most part, everybody got this one right. which the answer here is going to be -3 and 6. Let's take a look and double check to see how to go through this. First thing here when working through any question like this is I try to have the x squared by itself. So if I got a 3 right here, if every term is divisible by 3, I'm going to divide all the sides by 3 first step. So that's going to give me x squared minus 3x minus 18 equals 0. And then that I can factor. So I can draw my two parentheses. How do I get x squared? X and x. And then -8 is going and minus 3. So which two numbers multiply to give me -18 but add to -3? So that's going to be -6 and +3. All right, and if you're not sure, how do we get 18? 18 and 1. 18 and 1 is not 3. 9 and 2, also not close to 3. So you know it has to be 6 and 3. So you just figure out if the middle term is negative, then the bigger number is going to be negative. Okay, so that's going to be -6 and +3. And then so therefore my answers are -3 and +6. Don't put B just because you break into x plus 3 and -6. Remember, your answer, your solution has to be the opposite. So it's going to be 6 and -3. So the answer is D. All right, so that's quadratics. That's the basic factoring. Everyone should be comfortable with that. You should know how to do that. And you know what? At the end of the day, if you don't know how to factor or it's not a strong suit of yours or you struggle with it, take your numbers, your answer choices in the test or on the question, and just plug them in and see which ones work. So by plugging them in, you can see which one, A, B, C, or D, which one of the questions are going to work out. All right, so that one's good. So let's clear that. Okay. So let's take a look at this question as well. This is a hard question. I want to give you guys take a minute and a half to solve this. We're going to go through this one, and then we'll move on to the next topic. All right, let's take another 20 seconds. Put your answer in. All righty, so let's take a look. Okay, so most of you guys got this question correct. This one's tricky, not an easy problem. The correct answer here is C5, but let's work through it and see why. So for this case, this question, what we need to do is we need to FOIL. Everybody here knows how to FOIL, right? We do first, outer, inner, last. So first x and x is x squared. Outer x and c is cx. Inner 2 and x is 2x. Last 2 and c is 2c. And then on the right side, we have x squared plus kx plus 6. So this is what we're looking at. X squared plus kx plus 6 and x squared plus cx plus 2x plus 2c. So essentially now at this point, we have to do something called corresponding terms. And that's what makes this question hard. The foiling part is easy. Most of you can do that. What makes this question hard is something called corresponding terms. So you're essentially matching up the terms that are equal to each other. So here you have an x squared. Here we have an x squared. Here we have a kx, And here we have cx plus 2x. So the reason why I'm matching those up is because they both have an x. And then last but not least, here I have a 6, and here I have 2c. Now, why did I match up the 6 and the 2c? Well, c is something called a constant. So if c is a constant, that means I can take a constant. So a constant just essentially means it's any kind of number, whole number, integer, whatever the case may be. It's a constant number. So the only number on the left side is the 6, and the only number on the right side is this 2c. So that's why you want to take those two and set them equal to each other. So in that case, if we know that the 6 is equal to 2c, I can divide both sides by 2, and I know c has to be 3. Once I figure out that c is 3, I can then plug that back in here and here, which would then result in x squared plus 3x instead of cx. It'd be 3x plus 2x plus 6. 3x plus 2x, that gives me x squared plus 5x plus 6. So now this equation is equal to what we had on the left. So x squared plus kx plus 6 equals. So these guys are equal. So now once again, here's the x squared, here's the x squared, here's the 6, here's the 6. So that leaves me with this kx is equal to this 5x. So if kx is equal to 5x, we get rid of the x on both sides, then we know k has to be 5. My answer here is going to be C. All right, so make sure you guys write this down and feel comfortable with this question. If you're struggling, message me privately and see if you had a question, so that way I can answer that, and you guys can feel a lot more comfortable with this one as well. But that's going to be 5 as our final answer, right? Okay, so it seems like you guys are okay with this. Let's move on to the next. So here, the next topic here is imaginary numbers. You guys probably have seen imaginary. Oh, would this be considered one of the harder questions? Yes, that would be considered one of the harder questions on Quadratics. That would be a harder question. Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about scoring on the test, all the problems, easy, medium, and hard problems, are worth all the same amount of points. If you get number 1 right or number 20 right, doesn't matter. Whether it's a hard question or easy question, they're worth the same amount of points. So now the key thing here when looking at those problems is making sure that you spend the right amount of effort on each question and specifically focus on easy and medium first. Get easy and medium out of the way, tackle those, feel comfortable, then we move on to hard. All right, because the hard, not only do they take the most time, well, they're worth the same as everything else. So that's why I really want to make sure you guys first, everybody here can get all the easy and medium questions correct. Now, if you get all the easy, medium questions correct and you don't do a single hard question, you can still get a 600 on the math section alone, which is about a 1200 overall. Now, if you're aiming for over a 700 on the math section, well, now you're going to need to get some all the easy, medium, and some of the hard as well. But the key thing here is if you get easy, medium, you can get a 1200 on this test, absolutely. If you can get easy, medium, and some hard, then you get a 1400, a 700, right, on each section. And if you get easy, medium, and hard, obviously you get all of them, you get a perfect 800 score. But I don't expect that. Obviously, we're humans, so we'll make some mistakes, but I want to kind of show you all these concepts so when these questions do come up in the test, because we'll be doing practice testing, you'll know exactly what to expect and you'll know how to go through some of the problems. All right, so let's take a look at imaginary numbers. So here we have for imaginary numbers, we've got I, which I'm sure you guys have seen before. I is the square root of -1. Now on this test, if you see the square root of -1 or I, just leave it that way. Don't change the I. Leave the I as square root of -1. You don't have to move anything around or replace it. You don't replace the I with square root of -1. Just leave it that way. However, on the test, if you do see this guy right here, I squared is equal to -1. If you see that, you have to replace the I squared. You can't leave the I squared. None of the answer choices will have an I squared. You have to replace it with -1. However, the answer choices will just leave an I. They'll leave an I. There's nothing wrong with that. And we're going to go through a couple of example problems so I can show you what I mean. So let's take a look at this one. Here's a perfect example of something that you'll see. This problem will be on the test. Now, however, this is an easy question, but this will be on the test. You've got 4 plus 3i plus 2 minus I plus -3 plus 2i. So you combine like terms. 4 plus 2 plus -3. So 4 plus 2 is 6. 6 plus -3 is 3. And then here we have 3i minus I is 2i plus 2i is 4i. So our answer is just D. You pick that, you move on. So as you can see, look at your answer choices. There is an I. We did not replace the I with square root of -1. We left the I and we treated this equation just as if it was a regular algebraic expression, right? Treat the I like an X, solve it, leave it, and we move forward with that from there. Okay? All right, so let's take a look at the next one. All right, let me have everybody do this question. I'm going to launch a poll and put your answer in the poll as well. If you don't see the poll, you can message me individually. All right, we've got about half of you put in your answers so far. Make sure you guys put your answer in. All right, so let's take a look. Perfect. Nobody got this question wrong. Very good. C. All you do is you combine like terms. 4 minus 2 is 2. 3i minus negative minus I is 2i. Very good. All right. Everybody comfortable with that one? Nobody got that one wrong? Perfect. All right. So let's take a look at the next one. I'm going to walk you guys through this question, and then I'm going to give you guys the next problem to do. So here, let's take a look. What if we have to multiply them, right? So everyone here knows how to FOIL, so we're going to FOIL. First, 3 times 7, 21. Outer, 3 times negative 4i minus 12i. Inner, 2i times 7 plus 14i. And last, 2i times negative 4i is minus 8i squared. All right? So then we have negative 12i and plus 14i. Those can combine to give me negative 12 and 14 is going to be plus 2i. And then I've got minus the 8i squared. So what do I do with that? We know that I is square root of negative 1. That's what I is. So I squared is negative 1. So we replace the I squared with negative 1. So we're going to have 21 plus 2i minus 8 times I squared, which is negative 1. And then from there, you're going to get 21 plus 2i. Negative 8 times negative 1 is plus 8. So 21 plus 8 is going to be 29 plus 2i. So my answer here is B. Okay, so answer here is B, 29 plus 2i. Anyone have any questions, issues, or concerns with this? Message me in the group chat. I want to make sure you guys feel comfortable. Alrighty. Okay, so this question, I want all of you guys to try this on your own first. I'm going to set it up for you. So if you have a problem like this, 4 plus 2i over 5 minus I, and you need to simplify, I tell you to simplify. The key thing here, what does simplify mean? Simplify means there is no irrational number in the denominator. In this case, if you look at all your answer choices, there's no irrational numbers. There's just actual whole numbers. So I is an irrational number. We need to get rid of it. So the strategy here is whatever your denominator is. You see the 5 minus I? Multiply that top and bottom. That's called your complex conjugate. You don't have to remember what it's called, just know what to do. Whatever is on the bottom, take that and flip the sign and multiply top and bottom. So I want everybody to FOIL this out. Put your answer A, B, C, or D into the poll, and we're going to finish this problem. But I want you guys to work this out on your piece of paper first on your own. All right, we got a couple answers. Take another 20 seconds. Put your answer into the poll. Alrighty, so looks like we all got this one correct. Another one student who put B messaged me. They said they meant to put A. So pretty much everyone got this one correct, which is good. So the correct answer here is A. So perfect. So let me just walk through to make sure you guys all did this correctly and feel comfortable with it. So essentially here we just FOIL out the top, which is going to give me 4 times 5, which is 20. 4 times I, 4I. 2I times 5, 10I. 2I times I is 2I squared. So that's the top. The bottom, 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times I is plus 5I. Negative I and 5 is minus 5I. And then negative I and I squared is minus I squared. So then in this case, we're going to eliminate the 5 and 5 there. That's going to cancel. On the top, we're going to combine the 4i and the 10i. So it's going to be 20 plus 14i plus 2i squared over 25 minus I squared. So now is when we replace the I squareds. So what do we do with the I squared? The I squared is negative 1. So that becomes negative 1. So this is going to be negative 1. Negative 1. So that just leads to 20 plus 14i, and then 2 times negative 1 is minus 2, and then 25 minus negative 1 is plus 1, so it's 26. So ultimately, 20 minus 2 is 18 plus 14i over 26. And at this point, you can recognize and see, okay, 18, 14i, 26, what do they all have in common? A 2, and you can pull that out. So that's going to give you 9 plus 7i over 13 as our final answer. All right, so our final answer here would be 9 plus 7i over 13. Any issues, questions, or concerns, message me, let me know. Otherwise, you will be comfortable with this problem, and we'll move on. Okay, looks like we're good. All right, so let's move on to lesson 4. We're going to take a look at a couple of other topics. So here's just the next thing, number theory. Just take a look at this slide really quick so I can introduce this to you guys. You guys can have a quick refresher on what this means. Consecutive numbers, you want to remember this term consecutive. Consecutive means anything in order, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 3, 4, 2, 9, 5, no. It has to be in order. Of course, even in odd integers, we all know that. And then something called prime numbers. You want to remember prime numbers. A prime number is a number that's divisible only by 1 and itself. Okay, so 1 actually does not count. The smallest prime number is 2. So it's going to be 2, 3, 5, 13, 29, etc. Right? Anything that's only divisible by 1 and itself. So that's just some terminology there for number 3. I think you guys are okay with that. Let's take a look at this problem. I'm going to post a poll. I want everyone to answer this one as well. This should be pretty straightforward for you guys. But let's take a look at this question. Yep. For those of you who don't see the poll, you can message me privately. And yep. Everyone who's messaging me privately, you guys are all. I can't see the poll. Oh, a lot of you guys can't see the poll for some reason. Here, let me end it. Let me relaunch it. If I relaunch it now, can you guys see it now? Let's see. Oh, yes, perfect. Okay. So put in your answer to the poll. Thank you. All right, so it looks like we got pretty much everybody's answers in here. Okay, so most of you got the right answer. A couple of you missed this one. So let's see, the right answer here is 7. So we want the product. Product means multiplication, two positive numbers, and they're consecutive integers, and they give us 12. So we want two numbers that multiply to give me 12. Well, 1 and 12, they're not consecutive. 2 and 6, not consecutive. So it has to be 3 times 4, because 3 times 4 gives me 12. And then what is their sum? 3 plus 4, they add up to 7, so my answer is C. Okay, so remember here, product is just multiplication. So that means you have to just multiply those two numbers, and they have to give me 12. And then sum means you add them up afterwards. All right, so my answer here is 7. Okay, let's take a look at, all right, let's do this question as well. So put your answer in for this problem. We're going to tackle this and then move on. All right, we got a couple answers. Let's wait for a few more. Take another 10 seconds, put your answer in, submit, and then we'll take a look. All right, so let's end that, and very good. So most of you guys got this one correct. They want to know which one must be even. So no matter what integer, so if n is an even integer, you can pick a number. You can say like n is 2 or 4. So if you take an even and you multiply with another even, 2 times n is going to be even, plus even is also going to be even. So you actually plug in a number and try it out. Now, the thing here is they're saying must be even. The issue is some of you may have put D. If you plug in 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 minus 1 is 7, which is not even, so it can't be this answer choice. All right, so the answer has to be B. You just want to plug in your numbers and work through it that way. Okay, next let's take a look at this one. This one's very similar. It's another must be true. This is a hard question, by the way, so let me have you guys try this one, solve it, and let's take a look at it together as well. All right, take another 20 seconds, solve this one, put your answer, take an educated guess, and we'll review. Okay, so let's end the polling. Looks like we got most of the results. Very good. So good participation. We got pretty much everybody here. Looks like we got a mixed bag of answers. Looks like we're a little bit all over the place. The right answer actually is A, which most of us did get. Let me explain why, though. So they say must be true about Z. What must be true? So they said X has to be 0 and Y has to be greater than 0. Okay, so X could be -1 and Y could be +1, right? So if you plug in those numbers, -1 plus 1 is 0 over -1 is 0, so Z equals 0. So when I plug in these numbers, here I should probably make a table. Let me make this more clean. So let me make a table. So X is -1, Y is 1, Z is 0. Okay, now let's try another solution. So because Z equals 0, so if Z equals 0, that means it's not greater than 1, it's not equal to -1, it's actually not less than -1 either. So right off the bat, just by plugging in that number, we know it has to be A. And if you plug in different numbers, let's say you plugged in, I don't know, X is -2 and Y is 5, what would happen? Well, if X is -2, Y is 5, you get -2 plus 5 over -2, which that gives me 3 over -2, which is -1.5, let's say. So -1.5. So once again, 0 and -1.5 are both less than 1. So this first one must be true. You can't break it. It has to be true no matter what you plug in for X and Y. As long as X is less than 0 and Y is greater than 0, Z will always be less than 1. Okay, so you just want to try to plug in a couple numbers. Whenever they say must be true, you want to try to break it. So this is the SAT, right? When you guys, some of you may want to become attorneys or lawyers, you guys are going to take an exam called the LSAT. Very similar to the SAT, but it's called the LSAT, the LSAT. So what you need to do, that test plays a lot of tricky things on words, similar to kind of what the SAT is doing here. So when they're saying must be true, so on that exam, when they say must be true, the strategy is prove each answer choice wrong. If you can prove the answer choice wrong, then it's not a must be true, right? If we're saying it must rain on Tuesday, we could prove that wrong. It's not going to be a must be true. So once again, make sure you're reading. Make sure it's saying must be true versus could be true. Those are different things, right? So just pick up on some of that wording so that way you can get this question correct. But overall, I think you guys are comfortable with that. Let's move on to the next question and take a look at the next topic. So let's do divisibility of remainders. Okay, so divisibility of remainders. You guys have a calculator. I'm not too worried about that for the most part. Let's take a look at this question though. Let me see if you guys can solve this one. Let me stop sharing the results. Oh. Okay, so let me see if you guys can solve this question. Oh, stop sharing. Let me open up a new poll. Okay, relaunch. Perfect. Okay, so take a look at this problem. Take about a minute, minute and a half. Read it, try to solve it, and put your answer in A, B, C, or D. Okay, take another 30 seconds or so. I got a few answers, so put that in. All right, take another 10 seconds, put your answer in, take an educated guess, and we will review together. All right. Okay, good. So most of you guys got A, which is the correct answer here. Very good. So let's take a look and review and see why the answer here is A. So in this case, let's take a look. Here's what we want to do for this problem. They're saying A is divisible by 4, B is divisible by 7. Okay, well, I'm always a big proponent of making my life easier, making your problems simpler, and working through them more efficiently. So A is divisible by 4. Let's pick numbers, right? So if A is divisible by 4, what's the number that's divisible by 4? 4. So we can literally say that A is equal to 4 because 4 is divisible by 4, right? That's fair. Now let's do B. B is divisible by 7. So what can B be? 7. So now A is 4, B is 7. Now let's go ahead and plug that in. And they said which of the following must, or which of the following is divisible by 28. So now let's plug it in. A is 4, B is 7. 4 times 7, 28. Is 28 divisible by 28? Yes. Next one. 7 times 4, 28. Plus 4 times B, which is 7, 28. 28 plus 28 is 56. 28 go into 56? Yes, it does, 2 times. Next one, 4 times 4, 16. Plus 7 times 7, 49. That gives me, where's that, 65? 28 does not go into 65, so that one's out. So it's just going to be the first two, all right? So a problem like this, make your life simple. Follow the rules, but pick numbers that follow the rules so you can use that as information to then plug in and continue to work that and solve from there, all right? So the answer for this one would be both 1 and 2. All right, once again, at any point as we're going through these problems, make sure you message me personally if you have a question. So far, I haven't gotten anything, which means you guys are comfortable. Let's take a look at the chat. You guys are pretty good. But if anything does come up, message me. But I think so far, so good. Let's take a look at the next topic here. I want to do ratios and proportions. And then I want to do 2 more topics. I want to do ratios and proportions. Was the last question calc or no calc? I believe that was calc. Calc, yeah. If it says no calc, then assume it's calc. Always assume it's calc unless if it says no calc. But good question. Yep, no problem. So now I want to do 2 more topics today. I want to do ratios and proportions. And then I think the last topic is percentages. I want to go through those 2. If we have any additional time, I want to post a couple of questions as well that we're going to go through. I'll do like a little mini quiz and review that. And if you guys have any individual questions, you can also message me personally as well, and we'll take a look at that on any other material. So let's start off with ratios and proportions. So a ratio is all about a relationship between 2 things, right? So kind of like a fraction. So let's say a ratio of 2 to 3. So for example, for every 2 sweatpants you have, I have 3, right? Something like that. So for every 2 pairs of sweatpants you have, I have 3. That's a ratio. So it doesn't mean that you have 2 and I have 3. That means you can have 20 and I can have 30. But that ratio of 2 to 3 needs to hold. So now a proportion is usually going to be essentially 2 fractions equal to each other. And as you can see below is what they'll do something like this. They'll give you 2 fractions with a variable, solve for the variable, or like this, right? So that's pretty common. So let's take a look at a couple of examples and see if you guys can solve it. Let's start off with, we're going to do these 2. All right, this one's kind of hard. Let's do this one first. So let me teach you this one, and then I'm going to have you guys try a hard one and go to the next 2. So for this one right here, they're saying A and B are inversely proportional. Now there's 2 things, directly proportional and inversely proportional. So directly proportional means as one thing goes up, the next thing goes up. Inversely proportional means as one thing goes up, the other one goes down. So for example, let's say real life example, right? Let's say like businesses. The trucking industry and the oil industry are directly proportional. As the trucks make more sales and they drive more, they need more oil. As they need more oil, the oil sales go up as well. So those are 2 businesses that are mutually beneficial to each other. Now, inversely proportional would be 2 businesses that are competing, right, with each other. As one does better, the other one does worse. So Pepsi and Coke, right? the more Cokes people buy, you're only drinking one. If I'm having a drink tonight with my dinner and I want a can of soda, I'm going to pick one, a Coke or a Pepsi. I'm not going to drink both. So if I'm buying Coke instead of Pepsi, that means Coke is doing better, they're going up, Pepsi is going down, or vice versa. That means inversely proportional. So for this question here, they're saying if A is 10 and B is 20, right? Then they're saying what would happen to B if A becomes 40? So A is 10, now it becomes 40. So they want to know what would happen to B. Well, A, so it's not addition and subtraction, it's multiplication, right? So A goes from 10 to 40. That means we multiplied by 4. So what would happen to B? Well, if they were directly proportional, you would also multiply them by 4 and you would get 80. However, in this case, they're inversely proportional. So instead of multiplying by 4, you're going to divide by 4. So you're going to take 20, you're going to divide it by 4, you're going to get 5. So our answer here is A. All right, so that's how we do that question right there. All right, any questions or concerns, message me, but so far looks like you guys were comfortable with that. No issues there. All right, let me clear that up. Okay, this question's kind of hard. Let me have you guys try it, see if you can solve it. And if you have a question, message me, but otherwise we will review it shortly. Take about a minute and a half, 2 minutes to solve this problem. All right, we got a couple of answers. Take another 20 seconds, plug in your answers, see what you guys think. All right, take another 10 seconds, put your guys' answer. Take an educated guess if you're not sure. Looks like the answers are kind of a little all over the place. All righty. So here are the results. Take a look. So see, we're a little all over the place. The most popular answer here is z over 2, which is actually incorrect. So this one's difficult. Let me see if I can walk you guys through this question. So here's the thing. Once again, I'm all about simplicity. Make my life simple. Make sure I can use values, numbers, whatever the case may be. So here they're saying what would happen to z if x and y are doubled. All right, so I'm going to make my own scenario. I'm going to say, let's say x is 1. And then I'm going to say, let's say y is 1. Okay, so let's say x is 1, let's say y is 1. Let's plug that in and let's see what happens. So we would get 1 cubed, which is 1, times 7, it's 7, over 2 times 1, which is 2. So when x is 1 and y is 1, z is 7 over 2. Okay, fair enough. Now let's plug in a different number. What number? Well, they told me what to do. They said the x and the y are doubled. So I'm going to take those two, I'm going to double them. So then I'm going to double the x, which is going to become 2. I'm going to double the y, which I'm also going to make that 2. Because 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 2 is 2. Now z, what happens to z when I plug in 2? So I'm going to get 7 times 2 cubed over 2 times 2. So it's going to be 7 times 8 over 4. So 8 over 4, that just becomes a 2. 7 times 2, that becomes 14. So now I have to take a look. When x was 1 and y was 1, we had 7 over 2. Now when x is 2 and y is 2, we have 14 over 2. Just 14. So we had 7 over 2, now we have 14. So what happened to z? Well, you can plug in 7 over 2 to z into our answer choices and see which one gives us 14. So we know our answer has to be D, 4z. Why? It quadrupled. Because if you double 7 over 2, you get 7. If you double that again, you get 14. So if you take 7 over 2 and you multiply it by 4, you're going to get 14, which is why it's going to be 4z. So when x and y double, z quadruples. And if you're not sure, plug in numbers, and those numbers will prove that to you. Because looking at this equation, I don't see that right away. But when you plug in the numbers, it proves it to you to why that happens. So our answer here would be D, 4z. Okay. You guys have any questions? Message me, let me know. This one's a hard problem, but you want to plug in numbers to make your life easy and work through a couple of examples. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. Let me have you guys do this one. This one's not too bad. Put in, sorry, let me close the poll. This one, just message me your answer privately. Message me your answer privately. Take a minute and solve it. So far everybody is correct. If I messaged you that you're wrong, then that's true, but so far everybody else is correct. Take another 10 seconds. I'm going to show you guys how to do this one. There is no poll. I didn't post one. This one's just open-ended. All right, so let's see. So, let's go through this. Let me show you guys the answer. Based on the graph, the number of employees in 2005. So whichever they say first, that's your numerator. So they say number of employees in 2005 is what fraction of the number of employees in 2006? So 2005, what number is that? 70. So 2005 is 70 employees. 2006 is 80. So your answer is 70 over 80, which is just 7 over 8, or 0. You can say about 88 or 875, doesn't matter. But yeah, on the test you can put either of these. So the correct answer here is 7 over 8, or 0.88, or 88%, or whatever the case may be. Okay? Does that make sense? Everybody comfortable with that question? All right. So last topic here for us to go through is percentages. So we're going to go through percentages. We'll do a couple of example problems here as well. Make sure you guys feel comfortable, work through a couple of tricks, and then we'll finish up a little quiz for today, and then we'll be done. So any questions, message me so far, but so far, so good. Let's take a look at percentages. Okay, so a lot of things going on here. Percentages. We know that percentages, like 100%, or percent in general, you're just dividing by 100, right? So 50% is 0.5, which is also half, right? So percentages is, you can plug in the percent sign in your calculator. You could divide by 100, and there's a couple of ways to go about percentages. So I want to go through a couple of example problems with you guys to show you. You guys should have seen this for the most part in school many times, and we'll take a look at that as well. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's do this question. So this one shouldn't be too difficult. Let me just have you guys answer this one. Read this on your own, put in your answer, and let's see what you guys get, and we'll take a look. Yeah, I launched the poll. Looks like you guys can't see it. Let me relaunch it again. You guys should submit your answer in the poll, A, B, C, or D. All right, perfect. Looks like everyone got this one correct. So yeah, so 200 is how much we started with. You take 50% of 200, that's 100. 200 plus 100 is 300. That one's pretty straightforward. No issues with that there. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Okay, this one is very difficult. Let me see if you guys can do it, and I will walk you guys through this one, and we'll work through this one together. So try this one as well. All right, looks like we got most of our answers. Let's take a look. Wow, very good. I'm actually impressed. Most of you guys got the correct answer. A lot of D, 100%. That's the popular wrong answer. The right answer here is B, which I'm actually surprised that so many of you guys got it, which is good. But here's how we go through this one. Plug in a number, right? Let's say this milkshake costs, let's use $100. Very easy. I always like to use easy numbers when it comes to percentages. $100, right? Now, they decided to increase the price by 20%. So that means the price is going to go up to 120. And then they decide to decrease the price by 20% of the new number. Most people think, okay, you go up from 100 to 120, back down to 100. No. So when you decrease by 20%, you take 20% of the new number. So 10% of 120 is 12. 20% would just be double that, so it's 24. So we subtract 24, so that gives me 96. So they want to know what is the original cost, which is 100, in terms of the cost after the changes. So it's 96%. All right, so the answer is B, and this one we just worked through by plugging in numbers. Very good. The majority of you guys got this right, which is not an easy question, so I'm happy with that. But if there's any questions, let me know. But it seems like you guys are comfortable with that. Let's take a look at the next. All right, let's do this problem as well. Let me have you guys solve this. I'm going to relaunch the poll. Okay, read this question and put your answer into the poll. All right, take another 20 seconds to answer this question. Put your answer into the poll, and then we'll review. All right, let's see. All right, most of you guys got, oh, actually, all right, so here's a problem I can explain. Most of you guys got B, which is wrong. All right, it's not B. The correct answer here is D, which only a couple of us got. I'm going to explain the answer and see why. But yeah, let's take a look. So answer here is D. So let's go through that. All right, so here's what's going on. They said the average temperature of A is 91 degrees. Okay, they said that, so we know A is 91. What else did they say? They said A is 30% greater than B. So how do we write that? When something is 30% greater. So A is 30% greater than B. So whenever something, so if you're taking a discount, then you're subtracting from 1. If you're increasing, then you're adding to 1. So you're going to do 1 plus the percent. 30% is 0.3. So that means you're going to do 1 is equal to, A is equal to 1.3 times B. Okay? So A is 91, and A is 1.3 times B. That's it. Those are the two things, because A is 30% greater than B, and A is 91 degrees. So those are the two equations you need. Once you have those two equations, here's what we do next. We take them and set them equal to each other. 91 equals 1.3b. And then we take and we divide both sides by 1.3. So 91 divided by 1.3 is going to be 70 equals b. Okay, now if you want to double check to make sure that's correct, you can take that 70, which is b, 70 degrees, then you take 30% of 70, and you're going to get 21. So 21 plus 70 gives us 91. The reason why it's 1.3, I had a question why is it 1.3? It's because they said 30% greater. So let's make an example. If I have $100, right? If I have $100 and you have 30% more money than me, you have 30% more than I do, I would take 100 times 30%, which is 30. So you have $30 more than me, so that would be 130. So that's the same thing as taking 100 and just multiplying it by 1.3. Why can't we just find 30% of 91 and subtract it? Because that's 30% of A. So if you take A is 30% greater than B. It's like me taking 130 and taking 30% of the new number. You're taking 30% of the bigger number. If A is 30% greater than B, so if you want to do it the easy way, you can say, okay, A is 91, and then this number is 30% greater than B. So you take B, then you take 30% of that, add it back to B, which is the original, and then that gives me 91. That's what's going on, right? A is 30% greater than B. So you take 30% of B, add that back to B, and that gives me 91. The problem is you guys took 30% of 91 and subtracted that. Why is multiplying 91 by 70% wrong since B is 30% less? Well, so here's a good example, right? Remember how I said the example of 100, right? Everybody understand this example? If I have $100, you have 30% more than me. That means you have 130, right? Because you have 30% more. I have 100, you have 30% more, so 30% of 100 is 30. So we just added the 30, now you have 130. Everybody understands that, right? I have 100, you've got 130. Now, what you're asking, your question is saying, why can't I just take 91 and multiply it by 70%? Well, it's the same thing as if I took 130 and multiplied it by 70% to take me back down to what I have. I know I have so if I take 130, I'm going to take my calculator, 130 times 0.7, that gives me 91. That's not 100. That doesn't take me back to here because you're taking 70% of the bigger number. You have to do it in terms of the original number. That's the problem. So you can't take 70% of 91. Yeah, no, I hope that makes sense. Now, this is a tricky question. This is a hard problem. I think this question was actually on the past May exam last year. I just changed up the numbers a little bit. But this is a good question. The percentages are very, very tricky. It's the wording that comes down to it. So make sure you guys are comfortable with this one as well. All right. So A is 91, and then we know it's 30% greater than B, so you have to back solve it that way. So the answer would be 70. Does everyone feel comfortable to why our answer here would be D? Another way to do it is to look at your answer choices, and you take 30% of these numbers and add it back to that. So here's another way. So let's say you're going through your answer choices. We obviously know it's D, so let's try that. But we take 30% of D, which is 21, and then add 21 back to the original. And if that gives you 91, then that's your right answer. That's another way to do it. All right, so that's a tough question. Make sure you guys feel comfortable with that. Write that down. We'll finish up with like 1 or 2 more problems, and then we'll be done for today. But that's how we go through that question. Okay. So let's do these last 2 questions. We'll do this one and this one. We'll do the 2 more problems, and then we'll be done for today. All right. So let me have you guys try this one. I'm going to post a poll. Read this question, see what you think, and then we'll review this one as well. All right, take another 15 seconds, put your answer in. Let's see what you guys get. All right, let's take a look. All right, so let's see. So we have some A's, some C's, some D's, a little bit everywhere. So let's take a look at this one. I'm going to walk you guys through it to see if you guys can find the right answer. I'm going to show you guys right now. All right, so we have two rectangles, X and Y. And they said X is 10% greater than Y. So we're going to make up, so we have, oh, so X is bigger. So X, let's say this is X. And let's say this is Y. Because X is bigger. So Y. Okay, so in terms of percent, how much greater is the area of X than Y? So let's plug in numbers. Let's say Y is 10 by 10. So the area is 100, right? Let's just plug in numbers. They said it's a rectangle. I know, right? So rectangle is just all the angles are 90 degrees. So I can use a square. A square is a rectangle, right? So this is totally fine. So I just used 10, 10. I made these the same, made this 100, taking easy numbers. Now they said what? They said that the both the length and the width are 10% greater. So 10% of 10 is 1 plus 10, so this is 11, and 10% of 10, once again, same thing as 11. So since 11 times 11, which is 121. So 121 is how much greater than 100? It's 21% greater, so the answer is D. Okay, so how do I know how to do that? So whenever you see something percent greater, there's something called new minus old over old. So write this down. This is percent change. New minus old over old. So that's percent change. So percent change. New minus old over old. So whenever they say, how much greater is this number compared to that number, this is the formula. So for example, if you have, I don't know, let's say once again, let's say money. Let's say I have 70 bucks. So me equals 70. And say you have 113, right? And the question says how much, what percent greater, or how much greater in terms of percentages is the money that you have versus me? What percent greater? So you do the new number, which is 113, minus old, which is 70, over old, which is 70. So how do you know which one's new, which one's old? When you say percent greater, the greater number comes first. If you say percent less, the smaller number comes first. So in this case, we do 113 minus 70 divided by 70. So it's going to be 0.61, 0.61. So that means 61% more. So you have 61% more money. So you take 61% of 70. So you do 70 times 0.61. And if you add that to 70, you're going to get 113. Okay, so that's percent greater. Does everyone feel comfortable with that? All right, good. So it seems like you guys are comfortable with that. Let's move on to one last problem. And let me actually walk you through this one. This one's not easy. So let me try to walk you guys through this one. Here we have a certain high school class that's 22 students that were asked if they could, if they had at least one pet, and 36% said they do. So let's say 36.2% have at least one pet. One pet. Then they're saying, assuming the class size of the high school in the state is 22, so they're saying, assuming every class in the high school is its size of 22 students, Miss Jackson's class is representative of the students in the entire state. What is the best estimate for the number of high school students who do not have at least one pet if there's 2,300 classes in the high school? Okay, so we know 36.2% have at least one pet. So how many do not have at least one pet? You would do 100 minus 36.2. So we do 100 That's 36.2. So 63.8% do not have at least one pet. And they want to know, out of all of the students in the entire state, well, we know there's an average of 22 kids per class times 2,300 classes. That's going to give me the total students. So 22 times. So 50,600 is the total amount of students in the class in the state. And then we multiply that by 63.8%, which is going to be 0.638, which is going to be our final answer is 32,283 if you round. So they said which one is the best estimate. So it would be D. Okay. So this question answer here is D. So we actually got a ton done today. We did all of arithmetic algebra on the online platform for the online platform you guys have access to, which you guys can work through questions. That's going to consist of, we did all the topics in lesson 1, 2, 3, and 4, just within 2 lessons. So we got all the topics done with the lessons 1, 2, 3, 4. Next time, we're going to do geometry. We're going to focus in on geometry, get that done, make sure we feel comfortable with that. So we're going to fully do geometry. Then we're going to the last instructional period will be the week after that, which will then do some probability, mean, median, mode, data analysis, statistics, and we'll finish up that as well, and then move on to practice testing. So I can talk about strategy. I can show you guys which some tips and tricks on which questions to tackle, how to go through it, and everything as well. And yes, SOHCAHTOA will be next week. Yep, trig, that'll be next week. Yep, that's counted in geometry. So trig is going to be geometry, all of that. Yep, good question. Yeah, so we'll take a look at all that next week, all right? So any questions, let me know, message me. You guys have the recorded access to this lesson as well for any of you who may missed it or may miss a part of it, or any friends who missed the class. We have the recorded lesson, so you can watch that as well. But besides that, I appreciate you guys. Great work again today. We're moving at a quick pace. We're really going through that. And answer another question. Yes, we will be talking about circles. All that will be geometry. Circles, triangles, SOHCAHTOA, coordinate planes, angles, all of that is geometry. So we'll do all that next week and recap on everything that you guys pretty much have learned and just kind of supplement so I can show you exactly what the SAT is asking for. All right, but besides that, once again, great work. Thank you all for the participation today. I'm really happy that the poll attendance was awesome. So I appreciate that. If you have any other questions, message me. Otherwise, stay safe, and then I will touch base with you guys. Once again, class next week, Monday, 3 to 5 for English, Wednesday, 3 to 5 for math. All right, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.